Hey everyone, welcome to Mindshift Monday. My name is Dan Tressimer. I'm a human dynamics coach and founder of Fruition, where we help leaders get out of their own way. This is episode 2, which is entitled The Magic Number 7. What in the heck do we mean by the magic number 7? Well, it's really to dispel the mental retentive superhero myth. So many of us think that our brains are these supercharged, computers and we can remember everything. Well, that's not really true. And I want to introduce you to the work of a guy by the name of Dr. George A. Miller of Princeton University, who did some research and came up with a theory that he calls the magic number 7, or 7 plus or minus 2. And what he found was that our memory indeed has limits, especially short-term memory, that our memory is limited by the number of chunks of information that humans can recall out of a data stream. And what does that really look like? Well, that's why, for example, credit cards have series of chunks of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. It's not one continuous number because we wouldn't be able to memorize that. Telephone numbers, same way. Any type of sequence data or data that's coming at you all at once, one after the other, is subject to this 7 plus or minus 2, or between 5 and 9. So let's take a look at what that looks like from a human's perspective, right? So our external world, the way we perceive our external world is through our senses, through our visual, what we see, through our auditory, what we hear, through our kinesthetic, what we feel, olfactory, what we smell, and gustatory, what we taste. We take in all of this information and it's converted into electrical impulses. In fact, our senses take in between 2 and 4 million bits of information per second, yet our conscious minds can only deal with 134. That's like going from broadband internet, like cable modem, down to remember what old dial-up was like. That's about the same corollary there. And we do so in chunks of 7 plus or minus 2, so between 5 and 9 chunks of information. So if that's true, what can we do to really help us remember things and get out of this mental retentive superhero myth? Well, the first thing we do is we get out of our minds. We take it out of our heads and into a system. In fact, any system is better than no system at all, especially around this time when people are thinking about goal setting and New Year's resolutions and all of that. I keep getting asked, what's the best system for doing any type of goal management or project management, both, online and analog as well. And my answer is simple. Any system is better than no system at all. I mean, I've used index cards, I've used Post-it notes, I've used Podio, Trello, Project, all of those types of systems. But the most important thing you can do is get out of your mind and into a system. Even one of those notebooks that you just 1 page per day, if you just get out of your mind and into that system, you're going to increase your effectiveness exponentially. And then once you get it out of your head, then you need to chunk it into like terms. So instead of all of these things to do, then you chunk them into, okay, I need to do this thing, like exercise, which may include a bunch of tasks, or I may need to improve my eating, or I may need to create this Mindshift Monday video for you all to be able to see how our minds work and how small our minds are compared to how we think about them. Then put first things first. Learn what is urgent versus what's important. Urgent are those things that hit us all the time, those demands on our time, attention, and other resources, versus things that are maybe important but not really urgent, like our need to really make the people around us, the people we care about, feel special, right? That's not urgent. It's not demanding on us, but it's very, very important. So being able to figure out and focus on the things that are important versus urgent are going to help you really in this thing of trying to do everything all at once and failing. The other thing is the old 80-20 rule. And this is where most people screw up, because they've heard of the 80-20 rule. They've heard about, 20% of your 80% of your income come from 20% of your customers or clients. 80% of your problems come from 20% of your clients as well, right? If you can focus on the 20% that gets you the 80% there, that is more than enough, because what happens is that 80% changes dynamically. As you start focusing and dealing with that 20%, that other 80% will change into something else. It'll get solved, or it'll be shown as unimportant, or the problem to be solved will actually morph into something else. And that's why we really just want to focus on the 20% that will get us 80% towards our goal or our resolution. And stop multitasking. Multitasking does not work. There is study after study after study that shows that human brains just don't work that way. In fact, there was this one famous one, I think it was at Stanford, that they took a bunch of people who were self-proclaimed multitaskers and actually found that they were less efficient when multitasking. So even if you consider yourself a great multitasker, focus is everything. So focus on the things, the 20%, the first things first, get those done, and don't get distracted by other things. And then mind shift. Nothing is more important. Nothing is more important than getting out of the mental retentive superhero myth. Yes, some of those spinning plates might fall down, but that's less of a cost than continuing to go full throttle being a super retentive superhero. And then lastly, or maybe even first, breathe. When you are frightened, when you're fearful, when you're trying to do too many things and you can't figure out exactly how much traction you're getting, breathing slows way down. So stop, breathe, get some perspective, and then go through this list again. Get out of your mind into a system, chunk it in chunks less than 3. If it's more than 3, just let them go. Focus on those things that are important versus urgent, and only the 20% that will get you 80% there. Move away from multitasking and into focus, single focus. Shift your mind into thinking that, it really is worthwhile me taking this small amount of time to get into a system so that I can stop trying to be this super, mental retentive superhero. And when all else fails, or even before all else fails, breathe. So I hope you enjoyed this Mind Shift Monday. Don't just sit there and listen to it and watch it. Please put this into action and see how just this little mind shift can make such a huge impact on your life. Until next time, please remember, shift your mind and bring your dreams to fruition.